Mark!
Charlie.
Bravo.
Alpha.
Romeo.
Juliet.
Tango.
With me.
Yes, please.
Just kind of letting it
Fizzle.
Oh, no wonder these lights aren't on. I was figuring out why.
That's your own fault there, buddy.
It
You
is
gonna
my
turn these
fault.
on, the red ones?
I'm trying.
Hey,
Hey, now it
Yeah,
actually is
yeah.
normal. I guess that's an intro. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to The Subject Matter. I'm your host, Stephen Jenkins, here with the co-host, Mr. Jonathan Dayton, and special guest, Mr. Jacob Wilson. We are experts in nothing, here to give you our thoughts and opinions on all of it. So, I guess this is the official part 2 of the Jacob Wilson episode, which we had, like, 5th episode
Yeah, that's a long
last
time ago.
year.
It's probably a year ago, at least. Probably.
Close to.
Yeah.
Close to. I think this week was like our 4th, so like next week. But
Yeah. It's pretty good.
this
That's
actually
pretty
might be
close.
coming out next week, because I think,
Exactly 1 year apart.
I don't know, we release things in a weird order. Sometimes we just don't release things for fun.
A lot's
Keep you
happened in
guys
a
on your
year.
toes. Okay, so tonight we're going to try to keep things on the rails a little bit more than we had last time. But tonight we wanted to talk about Jacob's this.
A lot has happened in a year.
A lot has happened in a year. So, Jacob, go ahead and tell us what's been going on with you.
I don't know. Where do we start? A lot's happened in a year.
Well, let's just talk about the
This is the obvious
We're
first.
talking about
Obvious?
the obvious, yeah.
Well, I've just been recently certified as a national registered EMT through the state of Maryland.
So for the uninitiated,
EMT, emergency medical technician.
I'm not doing that for my sake. I'm,
You-
I'm literally doing it for the...
Uninitiated. Uneducated?
Huh?
What's uninitiated mean?
I mean, I guess uneducated, but...
Have you ever heard uninitiated before?
Really? I say uninitiated a lot. I don't know. Maybe I need to change that up.
What are we not initiated into?
I
That's
don't
the
know.
most-
I don't know. Okay, continue.
I don't know. I think
We get
it
the point.
sounds more
We get the
official.
point. I just have never heard that.
That's all good. I guess I feel like it sounds more official, but...
I understood what you were
See, when you
referencing.
say-
Yeah, I understood too, but I
But, like,
think
yeah.
This is so this is a rant already. Not even a rant. This is a sidebar, which happened already. So
It's impressive.
I think in my mind, when I say uninitiated, it sounds more like you're not talking down to a person. You're just saying you're smart, but you haven't been initiated into this yet.
Into the knowledge.
Whereas if you say you're uneducated, it just means you're stupid. I don't know.
That's
Anyway,
maybe I would say uninformed.
maybe I'm stupid.
Uninformed.
Uninformed.
Uninformed. Okay, that just sounds ignorant, but continue.
Emergency medical technician is what EMT stands for, and essentially this is the ambulance people. So these are the people who ride the Band-Aid box, the wee-woo box. There's many nicknames for it.
For the non-children in the room, the wee-woo is
The wee-woo, the silence
the,
wee-woo,
the,
wee-woo box.
the ambulance. and
The
fire
ambulance.
truck. Okay.
You can ride fire trucks if it's a rescue truck, but primarily ambulance. So if you have a fire rescue station or a rescue squad, you need an ambulance. So nationally registered. So there's essentially 2 governing bodies. It's a big alphabet soup. I think we'd lose the listeners on those. Just
Only I'd understand, and no one else would
It-
want to care.
No.
That's
more.
fine. So in
Yep.
short, there's a national standard. So you pass the national test, then that means you can essentially get a state card anywhere, and
Okay.
you can practice anywhere. So I have my Maryland card, obviously, so I'm a clinician in Maryland. You are too, but we're talking about me right now. So essentially,
Dang, you just threw me out of the way.
I try to give you credit.
Fair enough.
He's an EMT too. He was EMT first. He was what got me into EMT, so he gets credit for that. But essentially, my card came actually this morning. So I got my card officially, even though I passed the test 2 weeks ago. Thank you, snail mail. But we're not going to at the government at this
That's
point.
not the first encounter you've had with snail mail at all. I think pretty much every important thing in your life has just
Yes.
been snail mail has just kind of been a feature, a guess.
I've lost 2 official packets.
Yeah.
Like official packets with results I needed. One of those because it was a sticker label,
Okay.
and I think the sticker label came off. The other one was
'Cause why not?
Because why not? The second one was handwritten on it, so there's really no excuse for that one. Mm-hmm. It didn't get returned to sender. It was lost.
No.
And then it got sent again, and that one also got lost.
Ironically, we have that episode that I don't know if by the time we record it will be released on Facebook, but where we open lost mail, and that so that there's that
Cool.
program like that. I don't know who it is, but they have just unclaimed lost mail or whatever. So I think it'd be great if one day we found your packet.
See, there's a store. We need to get to a store. They have a store. See, instead of buying it online, you should go and you pick out your own packages. Yeah, we need to do that.
We can do
That'd be pretty
podcast
fun.
on the road.
This one looks like a bomb. Okay. Anyway, so
What would you like to know?
I would. Well, that's what we want. We want to talk about that, just all of it tonight, essentially. With in regards to this, I think, because a lot of the topics, most of them anyway, either I know enough about that I can talk about it, or we both know enough about it. But I don't think there's ever really been a topic where just you is so far above me in any particular way that we've talked about on the podcast. There's many things he's much more versed in than I am, but for the actual podcasts, so talk about EMT stuff. Go ahead. Before we do that, share your other news
Yeah, if you want to share it
with
with
the podcast people, unless you don't want to.
Oh, that really big news.
Because you haven't been on in over a year, and a lot of
that
things
did
have
happen
happened
in the
over a
last year. So we'll save the down and dirty details because that's longer than this episode will be. But I got accepted to medical school, and that's been a long.
Let them continue clapping.
Oh, thank you. I didn't know they were clapping. I didn't need this.
He
Thank
can't hear
you.
your clapping because I haven't inserted it in post yet.
If you're not initiated, medical school is where you go to take care of dogs and cats.
Sorry, I love animals, but I can't do animals.
Okay, I thought medical school was something completely different, but whatever. Because I'm not initiated.
Apparently not.
We'll initiate you
Never
now.
wrote that down. Okay,
So-
initiate me.
Veterinarians, veterinary school is animals, and medical school is obviously people. So we have MDs and DOs, medical doctors, and doctors of osteopathic medicine. We'll bring that up in another episode when it's med school.
That alphabet's coming in there again.
Yeah,
Continue.
I'm telling you, there's a lot of letters. Well, we did want to talk about like the whole med school process and things because it's been a year, so there'll be a few episodes. But this one's more EMT focused. But that one will be what's the difference between an MD and a DO. I got accepted to West Virginia School of Osteopathic Medicine, so I will be a DO, which there's a lot of stigma attached to it at first.
He's a doer.
I'm a doer.
Okay.
I get the stuff done. That could be like my logo for my office one day.
The short version is one is
done.
allopathic, one's osteopathic, one's a more holistic approach and has different courses to it than an allopathic doctor does.
Okay.
That's the short version.
That's short for
So we talked.
They all
about-
do medicine.
We talked
They all do
about
the same.
animals and we talked about humans. Now what about the in betweens? Who takes care of them?
That's not in my wheelhouse.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not experts on that.
The unidentified.
Yeah, and that's a whole subcategory. And
Okay.
I don't specialize in
Okay, all right.
the
Just
half and
wondering.
halves. But essentially, there's a lot that goes into getting accepted in medical school. It's not just like, hey, I want to go to doctor school now. And yeah, that's essentially how I got into undergrad. Like, hey, I guess I'm a senior. I should apply to Frostburg State and a few other schools.
Yeah.
So I put in my GPA and stuff.
Yeah, people think that college is...
Yeah.
So let me not downplay and say that things can be significantly more challenging with other folks.
Yes.
I think in this table that we sit in, I think that we're very blessed with good education and good knowledge.
Yes.
So getting into college is really not difficult for any of us, and so I know where you're going with that.
Yeah.
Senior year, you're like, oh, I should apply to schools, and you apply to schools and you get in. I applied to schools that I wanted to go to, and
Yes.
I got in. I just happened to choose Frostburg, which was a good school.
Right.
Some it's much more challenging, but for medical school, there's a larger process that's involved to get into medical school, and graduate school too. Even
Yeah.
grad school is hard to get into. There's a lot of different hoops
Oh,
to come
gosh,
through.
yeah.
And you think SAT and your ACTs are bad?
Oh,
GREs and MCATs and what they have DCATs and they have VCATs.
alphabet
and,
soup.
Right.
Yeah,
There's a lot.
those admission tests are significantly more challenging.
The tabby cats, is that too a part of it?
That's part of it.
Okay.
Well, with that all like excluding like the Ivy League schools. So if you go to like Harvard or Yale for undergrad. Credit where credit's due. That is a very
it's hard to get
selective
in.
process. But let's just take the Ivy Leagues out. Nationwide, they understand that high schoolers don't have a lot background, and you're like 17 and you're just kind of getting in the world. They kind of accept everybody because that's your foot in the door. For med schools and graduate programs and veterinary schools and stuff, they're like, okay, you've been an adult for 4 years, essentially, from 18 to 22. What have you done with your life? Just education? That's not good enough. What else have you done?
Yeah. Well, like colleges, not all, because a lot of them are very highly selective.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's money related. So if you can get in, you're going to get someone's tuition. Let's just be frank about that.
That's how the world runs.
So you're gonna get their money to come there. For medical school, they're selective because they need to have people. The quality of the candidate is high because eventually they want to make sure that their pass rates are high and that when they practice medicine, they're competent.
And they want to represent
medicine. So it's a more selective process.
Well, again, more later, but like WVSOM's match rate is usually 99% or higher, which obviously is 100. They have multiple years where all their class of 200 students all match their first year of residency, which is amazing.
Very good.
Very, very high. Most med schools try to shoot for 95 and above, and they're 99 and above.
Which is the hardest process after you graduate medical school. You're still in med school, but one of the hardest things after medical school to do.
There's levels.
So, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, to pull that around, one of the things I did to supplement my application was to become an EMT.
That's literally what I was about to say. Yeah.
Same brainwave.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's different things, paramedic, EMT, different tiers. There's 3 main levels because Maryland doesn't really do an EMT, the advanced EMT anymore.
They used to.
Other states still have it.
Used to be called a CRT, Cardiac Rescue Tech.
Then it was AEMT.
So that is a rant for another episode.
That's a long rant.
That Jonathan has.
It's valid.
I probably shouldn't air my opinion here, but it's a whole nother rant. But
yeah,
from a national standard, like the NREMT, the test that he passed for his national board certification, however you want to say it out, there still is an EMTI exam available.
Sure. So there's 3 tiers. There's EMR, Emergency Medical Responder, which is about a 60 hour?
About 80 hours now.
80 hours. They keep going up. EMT used to be like 60
80 hours.
60 to 80, and now it's 220. So EMR, 80 hours. EMT, 220-ish hours. My class was longer. Long story. And then... long story. And then above that is paramedic, which is a 2-year degree, essentially, through usually a college university, like Garrett College is the one that has...
Usually a community college.
Yeah, Allegheny has a class here and there, but it's usually Garrett for our area.
So there's a lot of stuff that we could go over, and I know we want to try to have more talks on this before you actually leave for medical school.
For sure.
This summer. So to focus on today, I guess we'll get a preliminary... just sort of the base questions out of the way. We'll just start with the simple question. So why did both of you, and I know because both of you, why did either of you want to become an EMT? I know you already addressed a little bit passions for just getting into medical school, that type of thing.
Yes.
But I know that there's more to it than that, just that for you.
Definitely.
So we'll start with Jonathan. What made you want to become an EMT?
Well, when I was younger, grew up in the fire service, lived at the firehouse with my father. And so when I became a firefighter, it's kind of a natural flow. Most firefighters are also dual certified in some type of medicine portion. Not a lot. Some really just love the fire side, just love to fight fires, vehicle accidents, hazmat stuff. But a lot of them are dual certified. If you go into any career firehouse, 99% of them, I'm making that number up, I don't know the exact stats, but most of them are firefighter EMTs or firefighter paramedics.
Some jobs require you.
Most of them require you. Some departments, larger departments, just have EMS departments where you're strictly EMS. So for me, when I got done my basic fire school, I decided to go ahead and become an EMT. I had the time when I was in high school to do that, and it just was a natural flow, so you could take care of patients and vice versa. I used to run ambulance significantly more, and so I'm still more the fire side is where my passion lies. But I can do both.
Gotcha. Good. Jacob?
Before I give my reason, I want to piggyback off something really fast, because that you said about doing it in high school. I would recommend doing it in high school.
Yeah.
Significantly recommend you doing it in high school. Unless you're a non-traditional and you're working a job or whatever. I took the night class. I took the Tuesday night, 6:30 to 9:30, and Saturday, 8:30 to 3:30. That was a little bit of a marathon for 8 months of sacrificing Saturdays. All day, every day. So it was totally worth it all the way through, but also doing that with my senior year of college and everything, it was kind of juggling 2 schools at the same time.
Yeah.
There's not I don't say there's a lot of homework for EMT, but it is
Still
consistent.
Work.
It's still work. It's not just like you can just show up to move up. You actually have to study and everything.
So what's important to note here too is both of us are volunteers.
Yes.
There's a difference between volunteer and career. Career, when you go to become a firefighter or EMT and you roll into an academy and you get hired by a fire department, they're going to put you through that training. They're going to pay you while you do that, and it's considered your work time. Us,
on the other hand,
did not do that, and so when we were in high school, and now, of course, when we were in college, we decided to take the classes and certifications. However, I do recommend taking them when you are younger in high school, because once you get them, you have to maintain them, but you get them, you get them. On the fire side, once you're done fire class, 1, 2, hazmat ops, you have that for the rest of your life.
Right.
EMS, you have to do certifications to recert your certification, and it's a drop in the bucket compared to the actual class. And so when you have the time to do it, do it. Reason why I did it immediately after fire school was because I had the time. Now, it would be very hard for me to go back and do the class that he just did.
And I think you probably would have done it in high school if you had thought about it. Like,
for sure. It was just one of those things that my family is not heavily in EMS. Not for any reason. They just haven't been. Dad's an engineer. My only medical relative, I would say relative. Initiation. is my aunt, who's a cardiac nurse. Other than that, I have a very medically dry family. I'm technically first generation with medical because I'm the only one going to med school for like all the way back. So no help. I wasn't a doctor's kid or anything like that. It was just that's what I was born to do, and we'll talk more like in the med school episode about that. But the reason I wanted to do EMT besides boosting the application and everything was I kind of fell in love with it once I went on the first call.
Yeah.
It's the first call.
I would like to back up really quick, because the reason I brought that up that you would have done it, because I remember pretty sure it was after we recorded a podcast one night.
I think it was actually.
It might have been after we recorded your episode of the podcast. I don't know. We were sitting at Applebee's eating our, basically after podcast.
It wasn't
dinner.
It wasn't Denny's, was it? It was Applebee's.
It was that. Unless conversations has happened before, the first time I remember hearing about it was when we were sitting in Applebee's talking about it, and I remember
we talked at Denny's, but it was official at Applebee's.
Then that might have been it. But I remember kind of seeing a light bulb go off in your head where you're like, "Why haven't I thought about this before?"
Yeah.
And I think that's something that So if you can do it in high school, those things are you get more time out of it too, depending on where your career is.
So my recruitment plug is because this is what I do on the volunteer side is to get involved in your volunteer fire and EMS departments. But people don't realize how fun and rewarding it is because most families, when you're involved in it, you become a firefighter EMT. Right. Like I was involved in it, so it was natural to me. Would I have gotten involved in it if my family wasn't? I don't know. I'd have to be like him, where you got this magical hook and got pulled in. And so if you're not involved in it, I encourage you to ask your local department to ride along or see what's involved. Then maybe you actually like it.
Yeah, ride along. I mean, if you don't like it, you don't like it. That's fine. But first thing is, if you're going to do the medical side, you have to be a blood person. Like you can't, and you have to be ready for trauma and traumatic experiences.
For the uninitiated.
For the uninitiated.
When you say blood person, you mean you have to be okay with seeing everything that comes along with emergency.
Seeing, touching, feeling blood.
Seeing, touching, feeling blood.
I have heard some of you, specifically you, I have heard you tell stories that you just kind of said it so casually, and it was like, whoa, I had no idea that you had dealt with that. That you personally had dealt
I
with
consider myself a veteran, although I'm not a veteran. I can after like 3 years, and I don't know how many calls I've run. EMS probably 600-700, fire
probably easy
1,300 calls.
So you're mostly initiated.
I feel like I'm initiated enough. You've after 3 years, you've seen never say you've seen everything you could possibly see, because you trust me, you won't.
You never
But
will.
you've seen a lot.
I think that's true for any profession, but
You've
yes.
seen a lot.
Yeah. Anyway, continue with
crazy.
what you were saying before I cut you off.
Good. Which part?
I have no idea.
No.
No
Love
idea
that.
what you were saying. So find something new.
We
And
were on recruitment, and you got the
Okay.
hook, and you
Okay.
boosted your
Well-
application period, and
Yeah. So to finish that, you reminded me. That was good. The first call.
yes.
So I went in blind. I went to the fire station. It was a rescue station. It was Lavelle Rescue Squad, so they're not fire. I went there on the contact. I won't name drop right now, but I went on the contact. He's the department acting chief. He's not the actual chief. He's acting chief
You
right
better
now.
be.
okay.
But I think he's still
You better be
acting.
correct on that.
He's at least chief. I didn't put the name, so it's okay.
So maybe you can-
I think he's a captain. He's a captain.
Captain?
Captain. I don't think they have
Acting
chief.
captain?
I don't think they have chiefs at the rest.
So he's definitely initiated.
Regardless, he's in charge. That's all that matters.
Okay.
He's the big honcho. And I went to him and I was just like, hey, I want to be an EMT. He's like, have you done anything with this before? No. Well, great. We'll put you in the class. We'll try it out. We went and we did the paperwork and everything, got it all set up. I was signing the paperwork to be an EMT and the call drops. It was kind of like destiny. Because of all places,
Fate.
if you're in the area, you know of the Ollie's parking lot in Lavelle.
It's true.
All sketchy stuff can happen in this parking lot.
Think like what used to be a very big shopping plaza, and then like 50 years later, I don't know if that's literally what happened, but basically 50 years later, the roads haven't been repaved since it was opened, and there's still plenty of shops there, but it's kind of like secluded in the back corner of the town. No disrespect to anybody who's there.
Yeah.
Obviously, we frequent Ollie's quite a bit,
Yeah,
actually.
we do.
But at night, it's a little creepy.
It is. What is the rating of this podcast?
Whatever you want it to be.
Okay. Just because
Well, if there's a
T for
warning,
teen.
we'll
T for teen.
We'll put up a warning if we feel the need to put up a warning.
sounds
If
good.
you've seen a warning, if
'Cause-
there's going to be a warning, it will have appeared already. So
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's good because I'm not gonna
you're just
censor.
going to start cussing the entire audience out at this point. Continue.
That's ironic because
Right.
yeah, I'm an anti-cusser. Is that a thing?
Anti-cusser?
think
I've never heard it.
It's
I think you're anti anything.
You can be
true.
anti-
It's more of- it's more of-
I'm anti.
You don't cuss, I don't
I'm
cuss.
anti-Steven.
Yeah, fair enough.
that's valid.
And anti-initiated.
It's
Right.
there's really not much to tell about that. I was like, say that for another episode, but it's really that I know that if I form a habit, I'll let it slip. So
I'm
I
with
want
you.
I want to do professional speech when I have my professional career. So if I let things slip,
We all
they'll
know
slip
Jonathan
there
will just
too.
let it fly, but whatever. Continue.
He's got a good filter though.
Hey, we're doing pretty
So-
good. We've only had 2 major
Could you see
sidebars
Jacob
here
being a
at this point.
pediatrician and like cussing out?
That's why I'm scared. I'm scared. It's like
Oh, you bumped your knee. Oh, boo boo. Beep beep beep. I can see it now.
I think I had to actually put a bleep there because I'm pretty sure you just said something. All right, continue.
I didn't say anything.
What is it? We'll continue with your story.
so. I was literally signing the paperwork to become a member at Lavelle Rescue Squad because if you become a member, they'll pay for the class. The class isn't free. It's kind of significant actually. So the way to do it is to join a station and they'll pay for it so that you're a member and you can volunteer / become a paid staff. And then the tones drop, and he looks at the call and everything, and he listens to the dispatch, and he's like, I need to go to this. I don't want to just leave you here. You want to come along? And I was like, sure. Am I allowed to do that? I'm not done signing the paperwork yet. And he's like, come along. It's no big deal. So we go running downstairs, and then hop in the chase car, and he puts on the sirens and everything, and this was my first, adrenaline rush.
The hook.
right.
It's
Okay.
and it's hooking. It gets you. It's like legal drugs, EMS, because you get this adrenaline high. It's like that roller coaster sensation, but you're not on a coaster. You're just going down the highway with lights and sirens and everything, and it's like I'm actually going to help someone and
fun.
say something. It's really fun, let alone empowering and heroic and really cool. You can't experience it unless you do it. At least ride along to try it. It might be a calling. So we go down National Highway, slightly over the speed limit because we're allowed to, emergency medical. So it's also crazy going through red lights. That's
imagine.
insane. And then the cops sitting there at the intersection being like, "Go get him, brother." It's pretty special. So we pull into all these parking lot, And we have 2 units there. We have the county unit. We have the LaVale unit. Ambulances unit. A little terminology there. And we arrive on scene and we see this woman, woman, not woman. Stupid English. I hate this language.
Okay.
So she's sitting on one of our cots here. And then we arrive on the scene like, what's going on? As we see multiple cops along with 3 EMTs and a paramedic. So paramedics above, of course, it's the 2-year degree. And we're like, what's going on? And he gives the rundown. And essentially, the cop said, hey, there's this woman. She was out here looking suspicious and everything. Cops were on scene first. And it's like, what's going on here? I saw you put something in your pocket quickly when I drove by. Can you turn out your pockets? And then she's like, I don't want to turn out my pockets. All right. Well, ma'am, I need to search you now because you're failing to comply and all this other cop stuff. And then she proceeds to get to her car and puts stuff in her car. He's like, I need to search you for that. And she's like, no. And she puts it back on her person. Okay. It's like, okay, now I don't need to search the car.
Genius.
I need to search you now. And then he's like, this is your last warning before I forcefully search you. And she tried to do a little Houdini thing, pulled it out of the pocket, hands up. He's like, man, turn around your hands. Okay. Puts in her little pant pocket and goes,
Genius, man.
ma'am, this is your now this is your final warning of you're doing what I say, but you're not complying still. And she panics and eats it. I haven't told you what it is yet.
Yeah.
But she eats it.
I've heard the story, so
Yes.
I'm just
I think I've heard this story too, but it's been a while, so I don't remember.
So, long story short, we get called for an overdose because she takes, I forget how much, 10. So what's the legal amount that you're allowed to carry of weed? A gram? Is it a gram?
I don't know if there is a legal amount for
I don't know.
recreational use.
For recreational use? Because I know stuff's changing. Recreational, didn't that just get passed to marijuana?
Let's just we're uninitiated. So let's just say 0.
We'll say 0. We'll say you cannot have weed on you unless you are a medical card holder.
I don't believe any of us have ever had a reason to
know this.
What matters is she did not have a medicinal marijuana card.
If there is a limit, she was above it, is what you're saying.
Yes,
Okay.
and it was, lo and behold, we found out later, it was also laced in several other illegal things with it. This was full bad. So she overdosed on like 8 to 10 times the normal amount that your body can take. And then she says, I don't have anything on me, officer. It's like,
It's true. It's in her.
It's in you. That's what the cop said. He's like, do you now realize what you've just done? I detain you. He detained her and everything. Called 911. He's like, I need you to dispatch me some ambulance and EMTs and paramedic because now she's overdosed and she's gonna go out of it here pretty soon. So we come on the scene. She's like, what? Playing dumb. I haven't done anything wrong. Look, there's nothing on me. He's like, ma'am, if there was not anything in you, we're going to find out because what you've just done to yourself is we're going to give you an emetic. An emetic is to make you throw up. So whether that happens here or at the hospital is up to this paramedic that just arrived on scene. Paramedic's like, I don't want to deal with puke.
Fair enough.
And everything.
Fair enough.
And is it an emergency officer? He's like, check her out, do her vitals and everything. So the paramedic does her the full workup because it's really cool. Within the EMS system, we're very open with everything. It's like, do you need her right now? Because the paramedic can do everything with here. But everyone's really open about the whole situation in an emergency situation. Communication should be, especially once you're past being new, is fantastic. Everyone's just like, here's what I'm going to do. Is this what you need to do for your job and everything? And the cop was like, I don't need her right now. I need her eventually. So you check her out medically first before I do my crap. So here I made sure the scene is safe and she's not combative or anything. Paramedic and EMTs do their full assessment on her. Like, all right, she's stable for at least now. Not sure of we didn't know it was laced. We found that out later at the ED when they did everything. And he's like, all right, we got to take her to the hospital. She said, what do you mean take me to the hospital? I'm perfectly fine. It's not. You are now, ma'am. But you are being detained by the police, and we can make you go. We, as EMS, is the EMTs and paramedics. If they refuse to go to the hospital, we cannot actually make you go to the hospital. Even if you are having a heart attack, we cannot make you go to the hospital to get treatment. Wild. But as soon as you pass out, then it's implied consent, and we will take care of you because of how the EMS system works. You can Google it. You can talk to someone. I'm not going to go into all that crap right now. But if you are being detained by the officer can actually make you go. So he signed off, said she has to go. They transport and everything. I didn't ride along at this point because they didn't need us. So we went back to the station by every means. But I left out the best part is where she tried to hide it initially, and this is why I asked about the rating.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I remember this too.
I wanted to at least give us at least a cuttable point of the podcast.
Yeah. We won't cut it. There will have been a warning
at this point. So to fill in the gap of the story, what I left out is she looked suspicious, and she tried to hide it up her anus, up her butthole, when she saw the cop come on scene. So I said pocket, which is true because she put it in her pocket, and then she ran a little bit to her car, and in her car she stuck it up her butt to try to hide it from the officer. And the officer's like, I just saw you put something up your butt. And she's like, you can't search me, officer. And he's like, yes, I can. That's not how the law works. And therefore she proceeds to pull it out of her butt and then swallow it, which is nasty.
So that just makes the whole swallowing thing even better.
Even better. And he's like, we're going to find out what you did because you didn't comply and everything. So
the moral of the story, folks, is if you're a criminal, I mean...
Well, you and I were about to go the exact same place with
I mean, for real, folks, I mean... if you break the law, then you're going to go to jail.
Especially knowingly.
If you... I don't know why people just can't be a decent citizen and not do that. And if you break the law, if you comply, you're going to have significantly an easier time with the law enforcement versus trying to hide it in that nature. Because you can't. You're not going to get rid of it. Well, you're either going to hurt yourself.
Maybe she thought it was just going to disappear when she did that.
Magical.
Like the body was going to digest it.
Because if you put it up there anyway, it still could be absorbed. So it's going to have the same effect. It doesn't matter. Like I don't understand people.
Don't give them many ideas.
I don't understand people.
We're not idiots.
All right, we'll get rid of the rating, the warning.
Yeah.
Yeah. In another episode, one of my friends is in the police academy for Frostburg City Police. So we'll have him on here at some point. He wasn't at obviously that exact scenario, but we'll give him kind of his perspective. No. He too had a very interesting first day. I think they had somebody running through Frostburg Plaza or something like that with a similar situation. I don't know. It's kind of it's interesting, but now you had said there are more reasons too why you wanted to. So to wrap up, go ahead and finish out those reasons that you wanted to join EMT.
Not to take a cop out, but they'll be talked about in the why I chose to go to medical school and everything. Okay. Because the reasons are the same. Stereotypical. I want to help people. More serious, I want to serve people. So I wanted to start broad with a profession that I could start serving people. And I didn't want just a desk job where I could serve people through a desk job. I wanted to do face-to-face interaction. So I wanted a people profession. And I wanted to do something medical, so I went through different things, again, in the medical episode, of where I started with engineer to pharmacist to optometrist to medical doctor is kind of my progression. Because I job shadowed, I checked out different things and learned that I didn't like these other professions. And
because he can talk more being a doctor.
If you haven't learned, I think the AI is going to say
from the fact that we need at least 4 episodes to go through this entire topic. Continue.
And it was I actually do want to save lives with everything, and whether or not that's just emergency medicine where you are actually doing CPR and basic cardiopulmonary resuscitation, CPR, and you're also doing for the uneducated.
It's basic, as if it's basic, because,
Yeah. And people having heart attacks, and who would actually, it's really humbling to think someone would have died if you weren't there to intervene and give them treatment to get them to the emergency department. They're not having a heart attack in the hospital. That's one thing, right? But to have a heart attack at home and you are unable to get to the hospital is where we come in as well.
So, like, I agree. I think that for people in the first responder field, it's showing up on someone's worst day.
Yes.
Now, to us, that might not be a bad day, but to them, it's a bad day. When they dial 911, that means they're having a bad day.
Yeah.
So showing up on those people's bad days to make it better is
Yeah.
really rewarding.
It is, and it's at the end of the day, when you drop them off at the hospital and they say, "Thank you, I appreciate this." You took my good drugs. Yeah. that's the medic.
Did you find out that did the lady say thank you at the end of her?
Oh heck no! Usually those you find they're
perhaps
anyone on drugs that you take away their drugs or you take away their high, they're very upset with you. It's unfortunate that it's that way. It's also kind of comical because you have to have comedy in a little bit of it, but yeah,
but we're also not just a stigma or stereotype, not sure the language there, either way, is that we are just on your worst day 911 call. We're just sitting at the station all day doing nothing. We are serving the community. We do outreach events, and our goal is to serve the community. Our way of serving the community is keeping them alive to do the medical and to heal them. So even we'll have calls where people fallen and they can't get up. Not to do the Life Alert commercial.
Life Alert commercial.
But the Life Alert
not a sponsor.
Pings us. Not a sponsor.
Life Alert is not a sponsor, but they could be.
It could be.
Wasn't that hilarious?
Oh my gosh.
The first major national company is Life Alert.
Yeah.
I think that that's the best place to end the episode, unless there's something else you had to say.
I was just wrapping up with an elderly person falls, they literally can't get up, and the husband can't get up. They don't have any family in the area. Mm-hmm. We were the people they could call to get them back up and to just wrap their arm because it's a little bruise and they're freaking out that it's a bruise, and we're like, we don't really need a bandage, but if that brings you peace, we wrap the arm and they're like, thank you so much and everything. Mm-hmm. Not every 911 call, and I won't say half, because there's a lot of times we transport, but only half the time do we actually transport you to the hospital. If we can take care of you on scene and you're good, you're good. We did our job, and if you're having a serious emergency, we're taking you to the hospital, and we're going to do all of our treatment in the back of the Band-Aid bus. So
the Band-Aid bus.
I call it the Boo Boo Bus.
Boo Boo Bus.
There's so many fun names for it, but the ambulance.
The Wee Woo.
The Wee Woo box. The Wee Woo truck.
Yeah, I work in the downtown area, and there's a lot of wee woo that goes down there. Thank you guys for watching today. So I think we'll probably bring Jacob back for more of a part three medical school discussion, and then depending, maybe we'll even have him and the officer guy that I was telling you about. We'll do like a joint effort, and then I'll just leave since I have no expertise there whatsoever.
That would be cool, because I could say how EMS and EMTs are so... Oh, you first.
We could do a cop, firefighter, and EMT.
Oh.
Yeah.
You just need to find someone that works in the jail system, a correctional system.
I know somebody who has worked in the jail correctional system.
All four perspectives.
You could do all of them.
You could give us scenarios.
My cousin did too.
I'll just be off screen.
Give us a scenario that would relate to all of them, and then we'd have to give our input into it.
How would we handle the situation initially?
From our perspective.
I'm intrigued by how...
Terrorist attack. No, that hasn't happened here.
That's way too long for a conversation.
Never mind. I had a whole plan in my head, but it's too long to really talk about it right now.
We understand.
Suspense.
That's
We'll
an interesting concept. We'll see about it, but
it'll be good.
Yeah. So we'll get that.
Make it happen.
Yes, it is me that will make that happen. So thank you.
I said it.
All right. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing. Let me know, if you're initiated on any of this stuff. And if you're not initiated, let me know if you're, what did you guys say, educated? Yeah, so let me know about that, and don't let me live that down. And we will see you guys next time.
When all else fails, hug a turtle.
What? No, what?